Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari alongside Cyril Abaku, Senior Researcher at TVC News. Don't be looking at me. You got to tell them good morning. You guys in your research studio.
Good morning, viewers. I'm glad to be here.
Indeed. But Cyril, serious business. Of course, we're still in the thick of COVID-19 and all of that. Indeed, yes, we will be touching on that. But the other thing was what happened over the weekend, the successes of the Nigerian army, talking about the anti-insurgent campaign that they're running on. It was something commendable, right?
Of course it was. I mean, taking the battle to the location of the enemy.
Yeah.
Specifically, what we had the military say after the success was that the ISWAP fighters were planning a heavy onslaught on the village. You know that villages along that corridor, Yobe, Borno, have taken a heavy hitting from Boko Haram insurgents. In fact, places like Gaidam and so on, they sort of live knowing that this thing could happen just at any time. So it was a good one. For the first time, it took a lot of human intelligence and reconnaissance.
Well, exactly, because they did credit solid intelligence.
Yes, they did.
Because we're hearing numbers like 105 thereabouts Boko Haram, terrorists that, quite frankly, were decimated, killed by the army, and that's not to talk of ammunition captured, confiscated.
Yes, if you went by the figures alone, that arguably puts this success on the same pedestal with what the Chadian forces also did. I think they killed about 100 or more, if the figures are right anyway. So I mean,
well, we had the acting director on both sides, Army Intelligence Colonel.
I'm talking about the Chadian figures. I don't know if I'm getting it right, but for what it is worth, this is an attack that should have significantly turned the tide. Although yesterday, that there was another
counter
serious,
sort of attack.
It only goes to tell us that if the military itself as much as admitted that there was about to be a heavy onslaught on Bunigari, that was just one. There was another major onslaught on Gaidam. Residents in Gaidam were wondering that, of course, they've had Boko Haram attacks in the past, which have often come in the nights. But this particular one came...
All of this is in Yobe State, by the way.
Of course, in Yobe. This came in the morning. So you begin to wonder, what is really the strength of Boko Haram? I mean, 2 days before, you take the battle to their camps, you decimate them, you say, we are happy that we've killed as much as... Initially, the army thought it was 10 that was killed. 10 were killed. Later on, they found out that the body count was way more than 10. It was up to as much as 105.
Well, again,
then suddenly, 2 days later, so it only goes to show that we have not... these successes are good because we need them. Quite frankly speaking, we need them. You can't win the battle overnight. You have to build one victory on top of another victory. But the fact is that, within the same period, I think there were airstrikes in Borno. There were airstrikes in a couple of states, decimating bandits and so on. But the fact is that we cannot afford to have it lost on us. The sheer momentum, the sheer virility of the enemy that we are facing. Because 2 days before now, you decimate him, take the battle to his camp, and then 2 days after, they are launching another attack on an unprecedented scale, using, in fact, dynamic strategies. It only goes to show that we need to put them on the back foot effectively, which we have not done.
Well, okay, it's interesting you say that, but let's ask our expert, because we have Dr. Kabiru Adamo, who is a security and risk management expert, who will be joining us via Skype. I believe we've sorted that out. There you are. Good morning, Dr. Adamo.
Good morning, how are you doing?
Thank you very much for, speaking with us via Skype. I'm here with my colleague, Cyril Abaku. We're looking at what we are taking as the successes of the Nigerian army over the weekend, and talking about the Yobe operation. 105 Boko Haram members allegedly, well, I shouldn't be saying allegedly, we were told by the acting director of military intelligence that is the figure. Now, when you combine this with figures we heard earlier about the havoc that have been caused by the Nigerian army,
Chadian.
I beg your pardon, the Chadian army, we are wondering, we thought they were on their last foot. In fact, I'm even surprised that they had 105 more people that could be killed by the Nigerian army. What's your sense of the strength of Boko Haram, numerical that is, remaining?
Well, it's been very difficult to have a very comprehensive understanding of the strength of Boko Haram, but different sources, I mean, the most reliable one, have been studies that have been conducted on the groups. So the number in terms of troop size of, as you're aware, there are three factions of the jihadist groups that are in the Lake Chad Basin. The Islamic State in West Africa province. Now, the most reliable source gives its troop strength at 3,000. Then that of the Jamaat al-Sunnah al-Dawat wal Jihad, which is the one headed by Shekau, the most reliable information gives its strength at 6,000. Then the other faction, which is the faction owned by Bakura, who was reportedly killed a couple of weeks ago, even though that has now been disputed by the Chadian army, gives that figure at around 1,500. So all in all, we're looking at about 10,000. But like I said at the beginning, this is not verifiable. It's almost impossible really to give a trend. The reason is these are loose cells that are operating through a command structure. So you could have just 10 persons, or sometimes 50, or sometimes 100, who have pledged their allegiance to a particular commander. So it could be Shekau, that is the commander, or it could be, on the other hand, the leader of ISWAP, or the Bakura faction. But that figure I've given is the most reliable at the moment.
Before this news began to came in from the Nigerian army, it was the Chadian army that was putting out information such as it had done this, it had done that, it was holding some ground, waiting for the Nigerian army to come and take over, and they gave the impression, the information they were putting out gave the impression that the terrorists, especially Boko Haram, were on a back foot, so much so that they were even asking for intermediaries to arrange a ceasefire. Now, what do you make out of all of that? Because we know that in wartime, information and propaganda, there's a very fine line between them.
We need to go trace this back to March 23rd, when it is believed that the Bakura faction, now just to give context, the Bakura faction is domiciled in the Lake Chad Basin area, and mostly in the Chadian part and the Nigerian part of the Lake Chad Basin area. Very little action in the Nigerian territory. Now, it carried out an attack on the Chadian forces on March 23rd, specifically in a place called Bahuma. It's a province of Chad, one of the islands where this group is active. And in that attack, it killed disputable about 100 Chadian soldiers. And then that angered the Chadian president, Idris Deby. So he pledged revenge. And a few weeks after, precisely on the 31st of March, launched what he called Operation Rat of Buhuma. That's where this incident occurred. And initially, we were made to understand that that operation was going to affect Chadian territory, 2 provinces in the Lake Chad Basin area. However, perhaps because he was operating under the platform of the Lake Chad Basin Commission, because let's remember, the multinational joint task force that is in existence today is operating under the platform of the Lake Chad Basin Commission, all the countries that are in that commission. And the troop contribution of this multinational joint task force is from 4 countries, namely Nigeria, Niger, Chad, and Benin, that even though Benin is not a member of that commission, decided to contribute soldiers, I think just as a friendly neighbor. So anyway, Chad launched that operation, and all the successes that you talked about, including the claimed killing of 1,000 members of either the Bakura faction or the Islamic State in West Africa province. That's one thing that surprised us a bit. If it was going to be a revenge, the idea, he would have focused on the Bakura faction, but he went all out, including the Islamic State in West Africa province, which was a very good opportunity for the other neighboring countries, Nigeria and Niger, to come together, support him, and ensure that they encapsulate these groups and put a stop to the attacks. Unfortunately, we didn't see that. What he did is he liberated his own part in the territory occupied in Chad and extended the attack into Nigeria. And then, of course, he had the announcement where he called the Nigerian government to come over and take control of the territory that he had liberated, and then the diplomatic part, ensued where there was. Now, what followed? Why I'm in this context? I want background.
Okay, Dr. Adamu, we have a bandwidth issue. Your voice just went out, but it was excellent just before that. Stay with us, please. We also have Mr. Tony Ofoyeton. He's a security consultant. We have Tony on the phone. Good morning, Mr. Ofoyeton.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Okay.
Happy COVID Day.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm here alongside my colleague Cyril Abaku in the studio. And you might have been listening to Dr. Kabiru Adamu.
I've actually not been listening. I just tune in now.
Okay. He's been giving us perspective on the campaign against the insurgents, in the Northeast and especially in Yobe. And I wanted to ask your perspective on, over the weekend we got the news that 105, that's the number that is being used, 105 of them were actually killed by the Nigerian army, and that's apart from equipment that was seized from them. So it looks a bit like to the people, that we're making advances. And what we've been talking about for maybe more than 10 years now, to see the end of Boko Haram, to sort it out, especially as people are saying that if we had what they refer to as a seriousness of purpose, I don't know what else we have had all this while, that we could actually take care of this whole business in, about a month. But give me perspective from, that is, your view, your viewpoint on all of this. The Nigerian...
Well, I think my first joy was when the Chief of Army Staff said on his own, without a presidential directive, that he was relocating, and with the determination that until he sees the end of Boko Haram, he is not coming back. Of course, I understand what that means. It's a good spirit and a good determination. But, having said so, it is not enough to really determine he is not the only person that can fight and win this war. We look at it from the intelligence. To what extent we have enough intelligence? To what extent can the war, the attack, let me put it like that, be sustained? It's a renewed vigor in him, maybe because there's always this thought that we need change of the service chiefs and the like, and he felt that it is necessary for him to also prove a point. So far, so well. It is good that we are hearing that these people are being, I don't know the language to use now, defeated, dissipated, whatever it is. It's a good news. In short, one of the best news some of us want to hear is that we don't have issues that have to do with terrorism in the East again. And all hands must be on deck. A little opening of this COVID-19 crisis has also given room for some of the so-called bandits to attack places like, Sokoto, Zamfara, and all those stuff like that. Maybe because they felt that the security agencies were going to concentrate more on COVID-19. But that he was able to think outside the box and also, leave the issue of COVID-19 and face his own primary work. To me, it is a good one. It's very encouraging. And I hope that they will be able to sustain that template. Chad were more or less like indicting Nigerians when you saw the issue of Chad saying that they were able to defeat and even kill some members of the Boko Haram and the like. I think the accumulation of this must have made the army to decide that, look, nobody should take the shine out of us. We are capable of doing what we ought to do under a normal circumstance. As far as I'm concerned, I give it to the Chief of Army Staff on that.
Indeed.
And I hope that it will be sustained.
Okay, stay with us, Tony. Let me check if Dr. Adamu's line has gotten any better. Dr. Kabiru Adamu, you still there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Well, as Tony was speaking there, he mentioned intelligence, and this also was a subject that was put up by the Nigerian army, that they credited excellent intelligence for the success of this operation. So I'd like you to comment on the role of intelligence and what seems to have been the problem before, because if the army itself is crediting, excellent intelligence, for the success, and then two, another point that was brought up, as you know, our Chief of Army Staff has said that he's not coming back. Having relocated up there, he's not coming back until this whole thing has been sorted out and he's taken out Boko Haram. That seems to indicate to us that it's an entirely doable proposition, much more so than in the past. Your comments, please.
Yes, on the 2 points, intelligence in most times is the decider between success and failure in military operations. Intelligence will give you an idea what your enemy is, what your enemy is planning, and then of course once you have that information, you'll be able to circumvent and in most instances weaken or stop or kill your enemy. As an example, we want to know where Shekau is. We should plant an informant within the group that would tell us how he's breathing, what he's eating, what he's planning, who is helping him, where he's able to get his weaponry, and things like that. So that is intelligence. And if I'm going to say anything about the past 10 years of the counterinsurgency operation, it is that intelligence has failed us, woefully. Now, if we're hearing from the military,
sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Adam. Sorry to interrupt you, Doctor. Does that mean we were getting bad intelligence or no intelligence at all?
I'm sorry, come again. It's not very clear.
When you said over the past 10 years, it would seem as if intelligence had been failing us, does that mean there was that we were getting what we could refer to as bad intelligence or no intelligence at all?
A combination of the two, bad and no. I mean, we don't even have to play around this. There was a leaked video by the immediate past commander of Operation Lafia Adoli, the one that was just changed, General Adeni. Now, he, in that video, actually said they gave them faulty intelligence. And what was he talking about? They gave them an intelligence that indicated the strength of the enemy. But by the time he found out that the strength of the enemy better than what was given in that intelligence. That's a failed intelligence. And honestly, it's as good as suicide. You are sending in, troops into an area with an assumed strength of an enemy that it turned out that enemy was stronger than what they thought. So bad intelligence there. And then there are instances of failed intelligence. Like the bombing of, I can't remember the name of that particular town, where they said it was enemies. And then it turned out that it was actually ordinary civilians, and bombs were dropped and people died. And so that's failed intelligence. But going forward, if intelligence is going to be a decider in the counterinsurgency operations, it should be actionable intelligence. And I've given instances. Weaponry that these three factions have. Where do they get the weapons? Where do they get their funding? How do they plan their operations? Now that is intelligence, so that the Nigerian military can use that information to stop those type of attacks. That is pure intelligence. Now, the second part of your question, the relocation of the Chief of Army Staff to the Northeast, mainly to boost the morale of the troops on the ground. After the structural change that occurred, they changed that they sent a new commander. At the time that Chad was carrying out its operational route of Boma, which to me was frankly not strategic. You cannot change the leadership of the army at that strategic time. But they did what they did, and the Chief of Army Staff decided to go back to the Northeast to boost the morale of his troops. And he did a couple of very instructive things. One of them, he hosted them to an Easter lunch, which was very good. He went out to the field. We saw him, as a paratrooper dropping from the plane, and some said it was make-believe, whatever it was. It was meant to boost the morale of the soldiers. He also launched, very instructive, a new platform of tanks, as well as several other military equipment, which I can't say in public here. Those are force multipliers. One of the areas that I'm waiting for to hear is their information platform. One of the things that leaked video I talked about of Adeni showed us is that they were using GSM to communicate. And GSM is a very open means of communication. It can be circumvented. You can, parties that...
You can hack into it.
I hear it. So I'm waiting. That they've launched platforms that would increase the integrity of their means of communication. Now, all of these things together, it would be what would be the decider in terms of victory for the group. Once you have actionable intelligence on their recruitment means, on their equipment supply routes, on their funding basis, and then you use that intelligence to stop them from doing all of these three things I've mentioned, then perhaps you will be talking about an end to the war. Yes, victories are being achieved, but these victories are battles. If a victory of the war is going to be determined, those are the key things that we need to see going forward.
Dr. Adamu, can I ask you what you make of the Chadian President Debby's remarks reported that it was unfortunate Shekau had escaped, but no problem, we know precisely where to find him. What do you make of those kind of remarks and how helpful they can be?
The reality is that there has been a lot of questions regarding President Idris Debby's role in the whole counterinsurgency operation. There are even suggestions that he is part of the weapon supply, capabilities of, the jihadist groups in the Lake Chad Basin. So this type of information coming from him goes to
Okay, Dr. Adamu, the bandwidth, I think, has started playing up again. Let's stay with us. Going back to Tony. Tony, thank you for staying with us. The question I just asked Dr. Adamu there. Dr. Adamu, could you just hold on a while, please? I'll be right back. Okay, so yeah, coming back. So now I have you, Tony. What do you make of the remark credited to President Idris Deby of Chad that even though it was unfortunate that Shekau, leader of a Boko Haram cell, had escaped, and just about everybody in this campaign wants him out of the picture, but that no problem. Speaking as they told us in a television broadcast to his people, it was unfortunate Shekau escaped, but they knew precisely where to find him. What do you make of a remark like that, and how useful it can be?
You know, in intelligence, some of these little remarks are actually the most important remark because it comes from the inner part of information dissemination. Like the analysts did say now, right from the word go, Chad has not actually been prosecuting the war against terrorism as expected. You will observe that most of the en-route into the northeast is from the Chad region. And most of the escape route also is also from the Chadian region. So if Chad had been able to hold its side and fortify it the way it ought to, by now we are not going to be talking about Shekau escaping and the like. If truly, of course, you are saying that a man of that magnitude escaped, and you know where he is, naturally what is expected is a normal bombardment of that very area. You remember the issue of America and Osama bin Laden, the Saddam Hussein and the like. You don't handle people you assume or you believe are terrorists with kid gloves. You don't allow them to stabilize. You don't allow them to recoup. Once you have been able to disseminate them in a particular location, you put them on the permanent run. Now, permanent run simply means that once you are able to identify that this is their hideout, you don't wait. You go after them. So if the Chadian president is saying that we know where he is, then the question is, what are you doing about it? Because this is more of a regional crisis as it is, and all hands must be deck. To that extent, I think that the issue of being part and parcel, in one way or the other, we talk about sleeper cell. Like the analyst did say, sleeper cell is somebody that is sympathetic to a cause, either for financial gain, for religious passion, or for political gain. Now, if he has been identified covertly or overtly as being part of the supply chain of arms, for goodness sake, I'm sure you know that it is not expected that the war should end just like that. So it is like the government and the military here that will put its house in order and ensure that at whatever cost, the boundary is maintained. They don't have that free access to come in and operate and go just like that. I think that is my own basic position on that.
Indeed. Thank you, Tony. Back to Dr. Adamu. If you're still there, would you like to finish the thought you were making, before, the line went a bit bad? You were commenting on the claim by the Chadian president that we know where to find him, and what you make of that kind of a statement. And while you're at it, there were parts of his utterances as reported in the press that were a bit denigrating to Nigeria. Videos were seen of him speaking to his troops, telling them not to allow Nigeria to release Boko Haram troops and that kind of a thing. Give me your comments on that whole area.
So, like, the audio is not very clear. Can you repeat that question, please?
Could you repeat that? I know you said something, but we didn't get it in studio.
Sorry, the audio is clear.
Okay. If you will kindly stay with us, Dr. Adamu, we'll take a commercial break and then we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and we're speaking with a couple of experts on Nigeria's military campaign against the insurgents, especially going back to over the weekend. And we have Dr. Kabiru Adamu, security risk management expert, who is joining us by Skype. Thank you very much, Dr. Adamu, for bearing with us. Now, you were forming a thought, but we had to leave because of the bandwidth issues. I believe you can now hear us a lot better. And also, thank you very much, Mr. Tony Ofoyeto, for remaining with us. Now, Dr. Adamu, what is it that you were saying about the comment, how you saw the comment of the Chadian leader that we don't worry about Shakawa escaping, we know precisely where to get him? That's one. And then, what a lot of Nigerians would have thought of as denigrating comments when he was seen to be speaking to his troops, and actually telling them not to allow Nigerian troops to free Boko Harams that have been captured or return their arms to them. What do you make of all of that?
You have to look at the history of Chad. It is colonial powers, France, and then, of course, the history of Nigeria, colonial powers, the England, as it were, and the relationship between these two countries, and then, of course, the strategic issues at play in the Lake Chad Basin region. France, as you're probably aware, has about 4,200 plus troops under Operation Barkhane in the Sahel region, and parts of the Lake Chad region. And Chad has played an instrumental role in terms of maintaining the French strategic presence in the Sahel region. Now, how does this all play into what is happening in the Lake Chad region? How much of this has affected the relationship between Chad and Nigeria? So when President Idris Deby makes such statements, it's always good to remember this historical background. Not too long ago, I think about maybe in November or December, the Nigerian Chief of Army Staff, General Burutai, issued a statement where he indicated that he did not allow Chadian troops to come into Nigerian territory because it would be as good as ceding Nigerian territory. So that type of diplomatic, I would say, suspicion exists between Nigeria and Chad, and it has affected the counterinsurgency operations in the Lake Chad Basin, despite the fact that there is a multinational joint task force. The headquarters of the multinational joint task force is in Chad, and that the leader, the person who is heading that operation, is a Nigerian. All of these are efforts meant at improving the relationship and ensuring that the objective of the multinational joint task force is achieved. In addition, the presidents of the two countries have met severally. President Buhari, it started with President Jonathan actually, and then of course when President Buhari won the elections, he continued with that diplomatic relationship. But all of this have not removed the suspicion that exists between these two countries.
Okay, I hear you, Dr. Adamu. I wanted to get your full thought. I believe you started making it on how much should we make of his assertion that he knew precisely where to get Shekau, that people should not fret that he had escaped.
The truth of it is this. I've mentioned earlier on that the role of President Idris Deby in the counter-insurgency operation has been interpreted differently. Some say he's actually supporting it for the strategic reasons I've mentioned. In other words, he's been a weapon supplier to some of these jihadist groups. Some say he's just turning his eye because the issue is not affecting his country as much as it's affecting Nigeria and others. So there's a strategic interest for that to happen. I mean, if you have an enemy that you cannot defeat and the enemy is not fighting you, he's fighting, quote unquote, your next door neighbor whose history is not very good with yours. So why don't you allow him to continue? So there have been several theories around the role of President Idris Deby. The reason why I'm bringing this up is when he makes such a statement, perhaps it is to reinforce this position that Shekau, yes, we know you. If you attack our territory, we'll come and get you. Or otherwise, continue attacking, wherever it is you're attacking before. Why did President Idris Deby launch the Operation Rat of Boma? It's because they attacked his territory. All this while he has not launched that operation. So we need to understand all of these complexities in the strategic relationship between all of this, the four countries or the three countries involved in the Lake Chad Basin. But for me, irrespective of whether he's sending a warning to Shekau by announcing that he knows where Shekau is, what needs to happen is the Nigerian President Buhari needs to sit with him, and if it's about drawing an ultimatum and saying, look, we need to put our hands together and bring this war to an end, or whatever it is, use ECOWAS, use AU, whatever platform to ensure that there is, a wholehearted cooperation from Chad. And then, of course, Nigeria is also bringing its own arsenal on the Nigerian part so that this war is ended.
Okay, then. So, Tony, thank you very much for holding on. Bearing in mind what Dr. Adamu just said, the last thing he said, that, look, there was a need where we know that with President Buhari, it's uppermost on his mind, this whole security agenda. Do you envisage any problem there? He did speak about some diplomatic issues. Maybe there was some tough talk, diplomatic tough talk. But as Dr. Adamu so eloquently stated, the issues between Franco and Anglo aspects of our backgrounds, do you see there being any problem in our President Buhari meeting up with his other brother presidents to sort this out once and for all?
But as far as I'm concerned, the truth is that, of course, there has been very cold relationship. And I'm not expecting anything fundamentally different except the federal government is able to make the Chadian government understand that there may be consequences If they are not aware of such consequences, and what I mean is that the government on its own, if they are able to push the terrorists to the extent that they have no choice, other than even to attack Chad itself, like what happened in Cameroon. Initially, Cameroon was not interested in the fight against Boko Haram. Why? Because Nigeria was the major target. Now, when the military came and they were attacking, and they had to repel the terrorists, even to the extent that they had to now go and attack in Cameroon. It's done on Cameroon that, look, we have to do something about it. Like Kabiru rightly said, since the level of attack on Chad is still minimal, I think they can still play politics with it. But I think it is high time for Nigeria. Nigeria is a big brother in West Africa, and they have their own way of also making sure that there are consequences. So if government is able to come to the level of making them understand that, look, if you don't fight or you are not part fully in this fight against terrorism, then it becomes, and they stand on their ground. I think it may continue like that. So if President Buhari is going to apply the diplomatic approach to it, the diplomatic approach should be such that it's so strategic and make it open, whatever consequences that you think are applicable. Let them also know that, look, we are aware of what you are doing. We are aware of the close relationship. We are also aware of the politicking. We are aware of maybe the business aspect of it. However, I think it is high time that this whole thing got stopped.
Indeed.
And if it did not stop, we most likely may have to think of an alternative.
All right.
Once that is done, I'm sure that, you know the way government works, once government knows that, okay, these other people are serious about this, they will re-strategize.
Okay.
I think government has to look at the carrot and the stick. It is imperative in this instance.
Thank you very much, Tony. Thank you very much, Tony. Really appreciate your coming on, Tony Ofoyeton, security consultant and indeed a legal practitioner as well. And also thanks to Dr. Kabiru Adamu, security risk management expert who joined us on Skype. Thank you very much, Dr. Adamu. Appreciate your perspectives. So as Tony was rounding off there, you know, they need to know that Nigeria is not playing, you know, and indeed the fact that Britain has moved up north and is not coming back, as he himself said, would seem to indicate that we're not playing. We're not playing here, you know. And I mean, he has other things to do. But if he says he's not coming back until he's decimated Boko Haram, I guess that means that it's imminent.
Yes, that's the determination that we had always wanted to see, on the one hand. And then on the other hand, you see, our experts have weighed in significantly on the implications and you know, dimensions to our relations with Chad and our neighbors in dealing with Boko Haram. But the reality is that in the end, the outcome of this whole war, what Nigeria will gain, shouldn't be so much as based on what Chad does,
yes,
what Niger does,
exactly,
what Cameroon does, or what Ghana does for that matter. Mm-hmm. It is primarily and stricto sensu a question of what we do for ourselves.
Indeed.
Because in the end,
we have the ability. Because our experts, you know, Nigerian expert commentators have always been saying that this is not a big deal, let's face it, once we decide that we want to take this whole matter out. It never was.
This is a war in which even the Nigerian police, the tactical police squad on its own, beat Boko Haram back.
Exactly.
I think somewhere near Maiduguri or so.
Yes.
Took back territory, took back equipment, hardware. So what are we even talking about?
Sorry to interrupt you. Let me take Teslim, who's called in from Jeremy. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in. Good morning. Go ahead,
my name is Teslim. I'm calling from Jeremy.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. I would like to contribute to the program.
Yeah, we'd love you to.
Yeah, what I see about this Boko Haram issue is purely politics. Because my father is a retired soldier. He's among the people that fought in the Civil War, among 3rd Marine Commando under Benjamin Detonate, the late. What he told me about this war, that most of the soldiers then is doing business. The war must have it has ended for long. But Benjamin Detonate, the kind of person he is doing business. That is why the war dragged to that 1974 day. before they hand
So,
over.
are you
And
saying
what
that
is
you want to
what is
extrapolate
happening
that
in Boko
idea
Haram now, we are
until the
looking
present
at-
conflict?
I have so many friends that are soldiers. They said most of what they are doing. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Carry on, please.
Yeah.
Be brief. Be
Most
very
of what
brief.
they are doing is just that it's purely business.
All right. Thank you very
It's
much.
purely business.
Teslim, thank you very much for your contribution, because really that's the point you wanted to make, and we take that point, that as far as you are concerned, that's entirely your opinion. You know, it's not the opinion of the station, but we note what you are saying, that this war, according to Teslim, is actually being it's being made protracted. It's not actually protracted. And Teslim will not be the first to have said that.
He did give it a name. You remember that, was it last week when I was here and people were calling in, so much, and I said, we are the reason why we are not winning the war against Boko Haram.
Yeah.
And then again, I went on to say, some of us are the reason why all of us are losers in the Boko Haram war, at least up until now.
Yeah, you know,
so,
part of the problem, of course, is the complication of, Boko Haram, the Nigerians too. And we're hearing about, there is the other aspect of it that a lot of Nigerians don't fully understand or accept, which is that repentant Boko Haram people will be rehabilitated and integrated, all of which is pointing to the fact that when it comes to nationality, they are Nigerians as well. And so the way you fight an external enemy is probably not the way you will deal with a conflict within your borders. I think that has been difficult for a lot of people to understand. We have someone in Chibok. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Ayori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for calling in. Go ahead, please.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
I'm watching your program live, and I'm happy to be part of this program for the first time.
Oh, we're happy that you were able to come on as well.
I wish to thank Brother for the first time that he has shown his commitment to end this crisis. But I wish to say that the Chadian troops, this fight is supposed to be a simultaneous operation.
Okay.
If we need to win this crisis against the Boko Haram, because we have been suffering this attack as Brota is attacking 2 days ago. They were in part of Chibok, one place called Kaglam.
I see.
If the fight is not a simultaneous operation at the same time, I want to tell you that this crisis will continue to linger for long.
Okay.
At that time, the Chad was attacking its own territory. It's supposed to be a coordinated operation where the Nigerian troops also should be coming on the Nigerian territory. But that is not done. Once as Bota is attacking now, the troops, the Boko Haram elements will be running to either Chad or Niger or part of Cameroon where they hibernate. If we are not coordinating this operation to be at the same time, this crisis will continue to linger and will continue to lose lives as many as possible.
Thank you very much, Alitai. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate your call. Making the very important point that this is not a war with a single front, and emphasizing that the need for all of them to come together to actually fight this. But even some of those fronts, maybe, I don't know if there's only one front in the Nigerian sector of the conflict.
No, but you see, in fairness to the whole, to the full gamut of commentary, what the Chadians did has pushed Boko Haram backwards. I think they've taught them a lesson that they will never come to that soil again. But we perhaps have not inflicted a damage relative to what will make, put Boko Haram in a spot.
Well, it's
because we cannot gain, we cannot make advantage on Sunday, and by Tuesday and by Monday, you are having something on the scale of what has not been seen before. If we
wanted to go all out for Boko Haram is not a problem. I think you don't need to be an expert as a Nigerian to know that. The military might of Nigeria, is it air, is it ground? But there
as ridiculous as it sounds,
there are complications. Mazi Okoroafo, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Syrian.
Good morning, sir.
Sir, this issue is not issue of your military might. Now, when we talk about this issue, like one of the boys are this about Biafran war. You see, the Biafran war was going different angles. That is square. Now, if Nigerian army, the Chadian, they don't want to end that war before Sunday, it's endable. How? Unless they are prepared to take that four square operation, Cameroon, Niger, Chad, Nigeria, attack on the spot, both air and land. Agreed that many souls will go, but there's nothing like that. Has to level that place. If they cannot do it, forget it. Because now, why you see the Chadians are raising an issue that allow us to go to, because Nigerians have seen that the force that Chadian move just raided the whole place.
Yes.
And they move that. That is why you see Nigeria raising that the Chadians should not enter into their treaty. Forget about this. We should forget about this issue. We are the giant of Africa. If the Chadians are coming, Nigeria should be coming too. Why Cameroon will be coming too? Although Cameroon will be talking about they are battling coronavirus and the rest. Let's face that one, that issue of Boko Haram. Look, Mr. Yori, that war is endable. If they want to end it today, I bet you they will end it, because if you see this, now look at what you are showing now on the screen. You cannot bomb only. After bombing, what happens to the ground? They are scattered. You see, let me give you an instance. During the Civil War, when the plane came from, I don't know whether from Port Harcourt to Aba, when the man was bombed, before he talked to Robinson, between Imo and Abia, the pressure was coming down. That was when people started running away from Aba. Thank you very much. Have a blessed. The strategy they need is four square. If they cannot follow the four square, they should forget about Boko Haram issue. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okoroafo. Now, the point that Mazi is making, I think also you were talking about it, and other people know about it. He started off by saying, and rightly so, that it's not about might, it's not about force. It seems to me that the Nigerian army, you know, advisedly, is trying to be surgical in its approach. It wants to get on top of this situation with as little collateral damage as possible.
If I may, sir.
Sure.
As ridiculous as it sounds, police special squads can rout Boko Haram.
If they had the marching order to do so.
Police, if you give the funding and motivation,
yes,
police special forces, there are about 6 or 7 categories of them. They will take care of this whole problem.
So you're saying,
you know,
everybody's saying that it's our will.
I feel that the time between when the Chadian president launched his own attack on Boko Haram and the time that was spent in the diplomatic brickbat, and now, we already lost momentum.
Yeah.
You strike, the goldsmith is strike while the iron is hot.
Look,
so
are we rehabilitating former Boko Haram fighters or not?
If you asked me, we should not.
But we are.
For one reason.
We are.
You are dealing with a very cynical Nigerian public. Nigerians are not convinced.
No, because I was indirectly pointing to where the problem might lie. Not that one is an expert.
Nigerians find it hard to believe.
And that is what Tony was, not Tony, that was what Mazi was saying, that he referred to it as a four square. So look, you mark out the area and you raise it. Now, it's all right for a military tactician to say that in a war room on maps and paper, but when it comes to the souls that will be involved, I don't know. I think that's the problem with Nigeria.
It even matters little what we think, what we who may have understanding to
non-combatants.
Yes,
you know,
no,
civilians.
No. I mean, for those of us who are sort of educated to understand complex theories and ideas about rehabilitating people and so on.
Okay.
But the Nigerian public. Believes that this whole thing, you know, some kind of conspiracy theory.
No, because Boko Haram is the enemy, as far as the ordinary Nigerian is concerned.
You have soldiers' wives who are complaining and saying,
why are
we
you
are widows
handling
and
the
our
enemy
husband
with kid gloves? That's the question the ordinary guy is asking. Michael Inikene, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, please.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, this war against Boko Haram has assumed a very, very difficult dimension. Hello?
Carry on, please.
In the sense that the problem we are having is that there is one component of the warfare that is missing, and that is intelligence. You see, the war against Boko Haram is not an.
But it's getting better. If you go by reports of the Chief of Army Staff, he has commended the quality of intelligence that is coming in.
Attack our military formation. It's because they go to they hide themselves close to the military camp, observe their routine, and they know what their weak spot, and attack, and it has been measured.
Yes, sir.
But you find out that
Michael,
the Nigerian military don't know
Michael,
exactly where their enclaves
Michael,
are, so they cannot know all these things are assumptions. What is their number? Where do they hide? How do they carry their operation? What is the root of their sources of income and ammunition? Until we are able to get those things, we'll be in serious trouble. It's an asymmetric warfare, and it can only be won using various components of military might.
All
and
right.
that includes intelligence.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael. Thank you. Really appreciate it. But, Mr. Michael, you are just going on buru, 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 buru. No break, no jam. I was trying to get in the fact that I hear what you said about intelligence, but I wanted to remind you that our own top guy over there, the Chief of Army Staff, has actually commended the quality of intelligence as being, in part, if not essentially, the reason for this success. So whereas I take what you just said, but I just wanted to recall that things are indeed getting better. But we're going to have to leave it here because we've run out of time. So thank you very much, Michael. And also thanks to our remote contributors, Cyril not Cyril. Cyril was very direct. Tony Ofoyeton and Dr. Kabiru Adamu. Thank you very much for contributing and giving us perspectives on all of this. And indeed, thank you to those of you that were able to call in. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. On behalf of Cyril, I am Yori Folari. Bye-bye for now.